Okay, so today we're going to dive into AI,
Sounds good.
specifically a company one, DeepSeek.
Yeah, DeepSeek. They're really making some waves.
Yeah, they are. They're shaking things up in Silicon Valley and beyond.
It's not just like another AI company, just tweaking an algorithm or two.
Right.
They're really changing the whole game, like how AI is developed, who can use it.
And how much it costs.
Exactly.
So we've got a lot of interesting material to cover today. We have announcements from DeepSeek itself.
Oh, yeah.
Reactions from people like Mark Andreessen,
Big names.
Jan LeCun.
Yeah.
And we even have some analysis of how DeepSeek's success might be impacting companies like Nvidia.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how the stock market's reacting to all of this.
Yeah, it really feels like we're at some kind of turning point here.
I agree.
You know, the old assumption that only these huge companies with like unlimited budgets could even play in the AI space.
Right.
That's being challenged right in front of us.
Yeah, and it's happening fast.
So let's start with DeepSeek itself. They are a Chinese startup founded by Liang Wenfeng.
Oh, I know that name.
You might recognize him from his work co-founding the quantitative hedge fund Highflyer in China.
Right, high flyer.
Yeah, so he's got a pretty solid track record.
For sure.
And they've launched two models that we're going to talk about today. DeepSeek-V3 for AI chat applications.
Okay.
And DeepSeek-R1, which focuses on reasoning capabilities.
Interesting.
So it's that classic underdog story.
Love those.
DeepSeek going toe-to-toe with these giants like OpenAI and Google.
David and Goliath.
And by many accounts, they're holding their own.
Yeah, they're not just hype, they have the benchmarks to back it up.
Exactly. And they're claiming that their models perform as well as, if not better than, the top U.S. models.
Really?
All while being way more cost-effective.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so how are they doing that?
Well, their approach is what I find really fascinating.
Okay.
They've really focused on optimizing data transfer between chips and finding creative ways to use memory more efficiently.
So they're squeezing every ounce of performance out of the hardware.
Exactly. And they're using reinforcement learning to fine-tune the training process.
That's clever.
Yeah, so basically they're getting incredible results without needing the same level of raw computing power as their competitors.
It's like they're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
Yeah, something like that.
And this is where things get even more interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
Remember those U.S. export controls on the latest chips?
Oh, yeah.
Well, DeepSeek trained their R1 model using older Nvidia H800 chips because of those controls.
Wow.
And even with that constraint, they're still achieving amazing performance.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if we've been thinking about AI development all wrong.
It really does.
Like, do we need to spend billions of dollars on these massive supercomputers?
Right.
Or is there another way?
DeepSeek is showing us that maybe there is.
Yeah, it begs the question, does groundbreaking AI research always have to be this expensive arms race between tech giants?
I think that's a question a lot of people are asking right now.
Yeah, and speaking of shaking things up, DeepSeek's commitment to open source is huge.
Huge. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Think about what that means for a second. Anyone can download, use, and even modify DeepSeek's models.
Wow, that's potentially a complete game changer for the industry.
I know, right?
It's like the Wild West of AI all of a sudden.
Yeah, and we've got some big names weighing in on this.
Oh, yeah, like who?
Well, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, he's expressed skepticism about whether truly innovative, high-risk AI research can thrive in an open-source environment.
That's an interesting point.
But then you have Mark Andreessen calling DeepSeek's open-source release a profound gift to the world.
Yeah, he's definitely on the other side of the spectrum.
And then there's Jan LeCun from Meta, who's firmly in the open-source camp.
Right. Jan LeCun, he's been a big advocate for open source for a long time.
Yeah, and he's pointed out that we're already seeing open-source AI models starting to outperform proprietary ones.
Yeah, and DeepSeek's success is a prime example of that.
It really is. So, if we zoom out a bit, could this be the beginning of a more collaborative, inclusive future for AI?
I think it has the potential to be.
Like, what happens when these powerful tools are available to everyone, not just a select few?
The possibilities are pretty incredible.
Yeah, like imagine students, small businesses, independent researchers all over the globe,
Right.
suddenly having access to these advanced models what could they achieve?
I mean, we could see an explosion of creativity and new applications.
I'm really excited to see what happens.
You too.
And the impact is being felt right now, and especially when you look at the financial side of things.
Okay.
DeepSeek's API pricing is unbelievably low.
How low are we talking?
We're talking 0.55 per million tokens.
Wow.
Compared to OpenAI's $15.
That's a huge difference.
It's massive, and that's a big deal for businesses trying to incorporate AI into their operations.
Absolutely. I mean, that changes the whole cost-benefit analysis.
Right, and Gokul Naidu over at SAP made an interesting point in a recent PYM-NTS article.
What did he say?
He said DeepSeek is forcing Silicon Valley to reevaluate that growth at all costs mentality and start prioritizing efficiency.
That's a really important point.
It could be a much-needed wake-up call for the industry.
I think it already is.
And the stock market is definitely reacting. Nvidia's shares are down over 15%. As investors question if they've overpaid for AI tech.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Even companies like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon are seeing their stock prices dip.
So it's not just Nvidia.
No, it's like a ripple effect.
Interesting.
And here's something I found really interesting. DeepSeek is now the most downloaded app in the Apple App Store.
Really? Wow.
That speaks volumes about the level of interest and the potential they have to disrupt the status quo.
Yeah, it seems like they're striking a chord with consumers.
They are, but it can't be all smooth sailing, right?
Of course, not every success story has its challenges.
There have to be challenges for a company like DeepSeek as well.
Absolutely. There are always hurdles to overcome.
What are some of those hurdles?
Well, for starters, DeepSeek's success has thrown a spotlight on a lot of the complexities surrounding AI. Things like the ongoing U.S.-China tensions.
Right.
And the potential for distrust around AI technology developed in China.
Those are definitely factors that could complicate their path forward.
No doubt. And then, of course, there are the U.S. chip export controls,
which deny them access to the most advanced hardware.
Exactly. So they're achieving these amazing results while also facing some serious hurdles.
It makes their success even more impressive.
It really does.
But it also makes you wonder what they could do if they had unrestricted access to the latest technology.
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, like imagine what they could achieve with a level playing field.
It's mind-boggling.
It really is. But it also highlights the fact that we're in uncharted territory here.
Completely.
This is a new era for AI, and we're all figuring it out as we go.
Yeah, and it's moving fast.
So buckle up, because it's going to be a wild ride.
I'm ready.
So we've talked a lot about like the tech side of things.
Yeah.
But I want to zoom out a bit and talk about how this, DeepSeek's success, this open source movement, how this could affect, industries and even our daily lives.
Hey, it's a broader implication.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Where do you see the biggest potential for AI to really make a difference?
Well, one area that immediately comes to mind is healthcare.
Okay, healthcare, yeah.
Imagine a world where AI can analyze your medical history, your genetics, your lifestyle, even environmental factors.
Wow.
To create personalized treatment plans.
So like medicine tailored to you.
Exactly, not just a one-size-fits-all approach.
That sounds amazing.
It goes beyond just treatment, though.
Okay.
AI could be a game changer for early disease detection.
Oh, wow.
Picture this AI algorithms analyzing medical images like scans and x-rays to spot tiny abnormalities that might be missed by the human eye.
That's incredible.
We could catch diseases like cancer or heart disease in their earliest stages.
Wow, so we could potentially save countless lives. Exactly. It's like having a superpower.
Yeah, the ability to see things that were invisible before.
Exactly. What about education?
Oh, education's another huge area.
Yeah.
AI-powered tutoring systems could revolutionize how we learn.
How so?
These systems could adapt to each student's individual needs and learning styles.
Okay.
Providing personalized instruction that helps them reach their full potential.
It's amazing to think that technology could help level the playing field in education.
I agree. It's really exciting.
Give everyone access to the best possible learning experience.
Exactly.
What about creative industries?
Oh, yeah. The possibilities there are endless.
Yeah.
Imagine AI tools that assist writers with brainstorming.
Okay.
Help musicians compose new melodies. Or empower artists to create stunning visual effects.
So AI becomes like a collaborative partner.
Exactly, pushing the boundaries of creativity in ways we can't even imagine yet.
It's like AI is unlocking a whole new level of human potential.
I think so.
But with all this talk about the positive impact, we also have to acknowledge the concerns, right?
Oh, absolutely. Every technology has its downsides.
What are some of the concerns that people have?
Well, one of the biggest ones is job displacement.
Oh, yeah. Will robots take over all the jobs?
That's the question everyone's asking.
Right.
It's not that simple, though.
Okay.
AI will definitely automate certain tasks, which could lead to job losses in some sectors.
Right.
But it's important to remember that AI will also create new jobs.
Okay.
And opportunities that we haven't even thought of yet.
So it's not necessarily about jobs disappearing,
Right.
but about a shift in the types of jobs that will be in demand.
Exactly. The key will be adaptability.
Okay.
And continuous learning.
So like lifelong learning is going to be more crucial than ever before.
Absolutely. And we also need to think carefully about how to ensure that the benefits of AI are shared equitably.
That's a really good point.
We don't want to create a world where only a privileged few have access to these powerful tools while others are left behind.
Yeah, that would be a disaster.
It would.
And that brings us back to DeepSeek's decision to go open source.
Right.
It feels like a bold step towards democratizing access to AI.
It is. It's a huge experiment.
With potentially huge implications.
Absolutely.
By making their technology accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
DeepSeek is creating a more level playing field and fostering a collaborative environment for AI development.
It's like they're inviting the world to participate in this AI revolution.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But as with any major shift,
right,
there are bound to be challenges and uncertainties along the way.
Of course.
What are some of the things we need to be mindful of?
Well, one thing that I'm really interested in is how DeepSeek navigates the global landscape.
Okay.
They're facing geopolitical challenges, export controls, and even potential distrust from certain countries.
Well, it's a delicate balancing act.
It is, and then there's the question of regulation.
Oh, right. How do we ensure responsible AI development?
Exactly. How do we prevent misuse or unintended consequences?
Those are big questions.
They are, and they're questions that governments, policymakers, and the tech industry need to grapple with.
So it sounds like a complex puzzle with a lot of moving pieces.
It is, but it's a puzzle that we need to solve.
Absolutely, because the DeepSeek story is far from over.
It's just the beginning.
We're just at the beginning of this AI revolution, and there's a lot more to come.
And the world is watching closely.
It feels like AI is going to touch like every part of our lives in the future.
Yeah, it's going to be wild.
But, we've talked about all this cool stuff, but we need to think about like the ethics,
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. With great power comes great responsibility, right?
Right, exactly. So as AI keeps evolving, what ethical challenges do we need to be like aware of?
Well, one of the biggest ones, and this is something people talk about a lot, is like unintended consequences.
Okay.
We have to think about the impact of these technologies before they're everywhere.
Yeah, before we just release them into the wild.
Exactly, because what seems like a totally harmless application could have these crazy ripple effects.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, sure. Let's say you create an AI to like optimize traffic flow in a city.
Okay. Sounds good. Less traffic.
Yeah, less congestion, faster commutes. But what if that system like accidentally disadvantages certain neighborhoods?
Oh.
Or creates new traffic jams in weird places,
So we have to like think about those things.
We have to anticipate them, try to prevent them. It's not just about building AI that works.
Right.
It's about building AI that's responsible.
That's a good distinction.
And that takes a lot of careful planning testing, and you have to keep watching it even after it's out there.
Right, so it's not a one and done.
No. And you need different people involved in the process. The more viewpoints, the better.
Right, different perspectives.
Yeah, exactly, because that helps us find problems and solutions.
That makes sense.
And this is actually where DeepSeek's open source approach could be really helpful.
Okay,
Well, because they're making their code public. They're basically inviting everyone to check it out. So you have developers, researchers from all over the world looking at it.
More eyes on the code.
Exactly. And that means we're more likely to catch those biases, errors, unintended consequences, before they become huge problems.
That's a really good point.
And the open source community can also help develop like standards and best practices for ethical AI.
So it's like crowdsourcing the ethical oversight.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that could help ensure that AI is used for good.
Right.
And doesn't, make inequality worse.
Right. It's not this like scary thing that's going to destroy the world.
No, exactly. AI can be a powerful tool for positive change.
So it's not about being afraid of AI.
No.
It's about making sure we're using it wisely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to have these conversations now while the technology is still developing.
So it's like a collaborative effort.
It is. It's not just up to the tech companies.
Right.
It's a conversation that involves everyone, governments, policymakers, researchers, the public,
We all have a role to play.
We do.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into DeepSeek and the future of AI, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, first, I think DeepSeek's story shows us that innovation can come from anywhere.
Yeah?
It's not just Silicon Valley anymore.
Right. The balance of power is shifting.
Exactly, and that's exciting.
It is.
Second, AI has the potential to change our lives in huge ways, both good and bad.
Right. We have to be mindful of that.
Absolutely, we have to make sure it's used responsibly.
Yeah.
And finally, this is just the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
The AI revolution is just getting started, and it's going to be a wild ride.
Buckle up.
Hold on tight.
It's going to be amazing.
I think so, too.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of DeepSeek and the future of AI.
My pleasure.
It's been great having you.
Thanks for having me.
And to all our listeners out there, keep learning, keep questioning, and stay tuned for the next big disruption.
Yeah, stay curious out there.